This is Stay Paid, a sales and marketing podcast on a mission to help you close more deals and retain more business.
Welcome to another Silver Dollar episode of Stay Paid. My name is Joshua Stike.
And I'm Luke Acree.
Luke, we have covered a lot of social media topics.
But obviously not enough, Josh. Obviously not enough because we just signed up a bunch of people for Facebook ads.
That's right.
And most of them didn't have an Instagram.
That's so true.
And we were
how
like,
interesting
how
is that? When we did our Facebook webinar where we showed people how to set up this Facebook ad that we recommend every single person in real estate should be running. It's the one ad you should be running. 97% of people said that they have a Facebook business account.
Yeah.
Right? But during our setup of our pilot group for our Facebook ad services, what was it? Already at least half did not have the Instagram business.
Only a third had Instagram.
Third. Yeah, so only a third had an Instagram.
I mean, and obviously they need help with it. That's why they're coming to it. But I was just like, wow.
Yeah, but it's actually like easier to set up an Instagram.
So every silver dollar from now on will be set up your social
Maybe
media.
We'll do one just on that.
Yeah.
Let us know. Anyway, we've had a lot of topics on social media. One that we've never really had, though, is a comprehensive list of all the mistakes that so many business owners, sales professionals, and content creators are making on social media. So today, we are going to go over 7 mistakes that every business needs to avoid on social media. Let me start the timer. Number one.
Number one, trying to talk and connect with everyone.
I love it.
I got your notes right in front of me. You're welcome.
We're going to switch roles.
Yeah.
You're going to be the host.
Trying to talk and connect with everyone is a big mistake. We've made it. We continue to kind of make this mistake because our pain point is, and you might feel this pain point, we work in over 140 different industries at this point, and we're trying to please and trying to reach all of them. And when you try to please everybody, you please no one. And the same applies to your content. So you really got to think about your niche. And you got to think about who are you actually trying to target? Who are you trying to speak to? When you post on social, who do you actually want it to resonate with and why? And hopefully it's authentic to yourself. We'll probably talk about that in a little bit.
Yep.
But the truth being is like you want to narrow down and you want to try to select your audience versus trying to please everybody. And it's a lesson we continue to keep telling ourselves and trying to apply, and we can even apply it more.
Yep. We talked about this a little bit with the TikTok episode, but all of these social media platforms, they've always obviously given you what you want to see, but they're continuing to get narrower and narrower in the niche content, meaning less viral content is being promoted to everybody, and they're trying to get down and show you more of the content that you want to consume. So once you start really niching down and creating that content, you'll start to see you naturally build. It might be a smaller tribe, but it's going to be a much more engaged tribe. Number 2 is failing to interact with your audience. Basically, like ignoring the people who like you. You don't want to do that.
Yes, you have to interact. I think it leads really to our third tip, but you really want to respond not just with, I find myself doing this. Of course, I'm going to pick on myself, mistakes made. It's like I see a great post and I give emojis.
Yeah.
As my response.
That's in the notes.
Right.
And don't respond with just emojis.
Instead of a thoughtful comment. Like that person took the time, they created, they did something unique, and you can't even take the time. It's like this. I'll give you a perfect example. You get on LinkedIn, you get on Facebook, and what notifies you? Oh, it's Ariel's birthday today. And so you go, happy birthday. How incredible would it be if you actually took the time to write something very specific of the reason why you love being friends with Ariel or something like that? It would mean so much more out of the 50 different, happy birthday posts she gets. There's one real thoughtful one.
The other thing that we would recommend is don't delete. I know it'd be tempting, but don't delete negative comments. This is especially if you're running advertisements, you might want to consider this because deleting negative comments not only begins to degrade the trust that you might have with your audience, but having that genuine, authentic conversation shows people how you can respond to negativity or respond to problems, which is the same thing that you want to do with your clients.
So how would you respond to this comment then, Josh? This person...
Probably an emoji.
Yeah, probably an emoji. This person comments on an ad. I'm running an ad with a video of me pitching, and their comment was just cringe. How do I respond? Just an emoji?
Just a GIF with a cringe face.
With a cringe face?
Yeah, do something fun back.
Cringe yourself.
I will say I always appreciate when businesses get the negative feedback and it's just something like that where it's just ridiculous and you don't know how to respond and they make a joke out of it because more likely you're going to get engagement on the comment that you respond back to that than they would have originally on the actual post itself. We've done that a couple times.
Another person said, this will never work, waste of money, blah, 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 blah. And I'm like, you've never used our product. Susan.
Yeah, make sure to say it like that whenever you respond. Susan. All right, number 3 is forgetting social media is about being social. This is kind of what we were just talking about, obviously. You can't just stand on a platform and speak and expect everyone to listen. You actually have to get in there and engage in conversation with people. The other tip here would be just to not treat it as one big self-promotion. If you go on social media, obviously if you're a business, you're on social media to earn business.
Yes.
But you don't do that by constantly self-promoting yourself. You want to make sure that your content is something that people want to follow along with, that it's authentic, that it's about you, it tells your story, because that will naturally create that social interaction.
Yeah, it's the personal stuff. You got to share the personal stuff. I love how in your notes you say not private stuff. Yeah, don't share your social security number. Don't share your bank account information. We're giving you some great tips on this podcast. No, but you got to share your personal stuff. That would be what you actually believe in. And if you watch the people that you watch, that you interact with, I guarantee you they have strong opinions.
You're drawn to them because of them opening up and
they're willing to
personal
speak
side.
out on stuff they believe in. And a lot of times you're attracted to it because you're nervous to speak out on that, but you believe in it. Yeah. And so it's just amazing how that happens.
Absolutely. Number 4 is going to be don't copy and paste. This is a mistake that a lot of people make, just taking the same content from Facebook and posting it to Instagram, then posting it to LinkedIn, posting it to the next social media platform. Make sure that you're using the platforms for not only the audience that you have on each one of those platforms. For example, most of the people that follow us on Facebook tend to be clients of Reminder Media. And then a lot of the people that follow us on Instagram tend to be people that we've met through the podcast and different verticals. So we're going to have quite a little bit of a different voice, a little bit different content on each one of those platforms, giving people a reason to follow you on different platforms.
Yeah, I make this mistake because it saves you so much time, just copying and pasting. But I think the easiest way to think about it is like LinkedIn, think kind of business wise. Instagram, right? It should be more visually appealing in what you're posting, thinking about it that way. And then Facebook, Facebook's a hard one because it kind of is like Instagram. From a visual perspective, you are on there and you're seeing a lot of visual content, but it's actually people I find will read a little bit more on Facebook than they will on Instagram. And TikTok, I don't know. Do you guys read any TikTok descriptions?
No.
Yeah, I don't either. TikTok is totally audio and visual.
Yeah, very quick.
So,
I also want to add a caveat here. Don't let that stop you from posting on all the platforms.
Yeah, copy and paste if you're going to not post.
Yes, but one step that you can go further with that is make sure that you are doing things that are platform specific. Number 1, because the platform will reward you for that, for using their features. And then second of all, every chance that you have to, a photo that you post on Instagram probably won't work as well on Facebook, because Facebook, like Luke said, isn't a 100% visually driven platform. You might want to beef up the copy in what you're putting on Facebook as well. Number 5, not being consistent. The 5th biggest mistake, not being consistent. So this a lot of times has to do with just not knowing what to post.
Yeah. Well, what's interesting here is that, and I go back and forth on this. I know I'm going to confuse people and not help people, but some people will say, always post similar times every day, consistency in the amount of posts. One person I follow that's pretty big on social says, never let your story expire. But here's the thing. Sometimes when I change up on my Instagram specifically, when I'm posting or if I let a story expire, my views on my story
the skyrocket,
triple.
Yeah.
So I don't know what to believe there. I don't know if you have any experience with that.
Well, I think it's because once you let your stories expire and you post a new story, Instagram wants to give you the instant gratification of coming back, right?
Exactly.
And posting again. So I think that is a good tip to try. I would say that's not even what we mean about being consistent. Consistency doesn't mean clockwork, if that makes sense. It doesn't
that's a good way to explain it.
Yeah, it's being consistent means that you are picking a schedule, you're picking something to dedicate yourself to in order, don't let a week go by on Instagram stories. Don't let more than 2 days or a full 24 hours go by on Instagram stories, because you might start to see people get less engaged with your journey. But really, consistency is more about making sure that the platforms that you've picked that you want to post to, you're going to keep posting. There is nothing worse, and we're guilty of it as well, so we are just as bad. There's nothing worse than going to a brand site or their Twitter feed or their Facebook feed and seeing that they didn't post in 8 months. Because what do you instantly think? What happened?
Yeah.
What, are they out of business?
Well,
are they still working?
Damaging
what
to
are they
the
doing?
brand.
Yeah.
That's what I think of when I think consistency is just Do it obviously consistently enough to where you can take advantage of the algorithm hacks that people talk about. But more importantly, it's just, does it represent your brand well? When you go to your sites, is your brand represented well? And then I would tell you, just from my experience, that's all I can speak to, is that quality is way more important now than quantity. Like I am finding more and more, if I post 2 stories or 3 stories, but they're all like, maybe it's a picture of me and Evelyn and Megan and it's a good shot, or it's an actual good tip that I'm putting out there, I get so much more engagement. But if I post a bunch of stories and you see those little white lines start adding up, all my engagement drops off type idea. Or if I post
you get the dreaded swipe instead of tap.
Yeah. So if I post too many stories throughout the week, I don't get the engagement on the stories. Now, that's one avenue to think about it from an engagement standpoint. I also can think about it from the opposite, which is there's still that many people liking it and seeing me.
Another value for adding changing your Instagram account to a business account. You can actually see how many people tap versus if they swipe. They're swiping to your stories. Now, on your personal one, you can kind of assume, because if 39 people or 100 people watched your first story and then 70 watched your second one and it was 15 seconds later, you can assume that they all just kind of swipe by the rest of them versus looking at each of them. The 6th tip that we'll give, or mistake that we'll say, is this says not purchasing ads, but I would almost call it not spending money, not being willing to spend money.
Missing out on the golden era of social.
Yes, to get your post seen for very, very cheap, especially in a local service-based sales position or brand. You have the opportunity to reach pretty much your entire community without spending a ton of money, pennies per view.
Yeah, I would think you're crazy right now if you're not spending probably a cup of coffee a day on just getting your brand out there to your 15-mile radius.
Yep. It's going to bring people into your content. And if you're doing all of these other tips that we're talking about, you're niching down, you're being consistent, you're producing great content, ultimately those people will turn into followers.
And there's a social proof. When people see you on a billboard, when they see you on a shopping cart, when they see you on a Facebook ad, it elevates your credibility as a business. Though little, it still elevates and plays into the whole branding game.
Yeah. And the 7th one that we'll say is avoiding video. The biggest mistake here is just being too nervous or cautious of what people are going to think of you or what you look like on video. I have to give a shout out to Val Miller. We've talked about her on the show here before. Is a Feel Good Marketing, I think is her Instagram handle. She had the greatest, and you got to understand Val's like a sense of humor so dry. So Val, I know you're listening, so shout out to you. But she goes, she made this point where she's like, if you're worried about being on camera because you're nervous about how you sound and how you look, she's like, guess what? That's always what you sound and what you look like. So that's what everybody sees anyway.
Boom.
You might as well
learn to love
film. Yeah. And get some content out of it.
Embrace your individuality. That's how you sound.
I hate looking at myself on video. That's how everybody sees it.
Everybody's looking at you that way.
Everyone is so hypercritical of themselves too. Like when you're looking at someone else's, you're not going, oh, they sound weird, or oh, they don't sound like themselves. Like you just see it as a post.
Right.
So you need to have that same mindset when you're doing it. Is no one's thinking as critically as you're thinking when you're posting things like that.
Lou Holtz, we listened to him today for our sales morning huddle to get us motivated. And he says, don't share your problems with people. 90% of people don't care, and 10% of people are glad you have them.
That's so true. All right. Thank you so much for listening to our 7 mistakes that business professionals are making on social media. You can head on over to staypaidpodcast.com for the show notes and the video of this episode. If you're looking for ways to support the show, we would love it. There's 2 ways we ask you to do that. The first is to head on over to Apple Podcast, drop of a 5-star review. You can actually review us on Spotify as well. And the best way to show your support is to tell a friend, share this episode on your social media. You know, spring is around the corner. Spring's coming up, right? Springtime.
Thank God.
Summer is in the air. With summer, what comes with summer?
Warm weather.
Warm weather.
The beach.
The beach. Yeah, you got to go start getting to the beach. I've been thinking about that recently because, trying to get into beach shape.
Yeah, beach body.
There's this whole trend, this thing that came out a few years ago where it's like, they call it the dad bod, right?
Yeah. There's a big debate that
get to a certain age.
People are more into women are more into the dad bod. And I'm just like, I don't know. I asked my wife the other day, but now I'm a dad, so maybe I'm thankful for this.
Well, Luke, you don't have a dad bod. You have
Josh.
a father figure. That was a long journey to get there, but I got Ariel
nice
pretty
dad
good.
Joke.
If you want to get a hold of me or Luke, you can email us at podcast@remindermedia.com, or you can find us on Instagram, we are at Stay Paid Podcast. For this episode of Stay Paid, I'm Joshua Stike.
Guys, and I'm Luke Acree. Here's what I would encourage you for action item. Social media was created to be social. So I challenge you, take 5 minutes each day, get on social media and get social and respond to people, comment, not just emojis, but actually engage in the conversation with people that you are connected with. You can also search the top hashtags in your area and connect on those posts, the posts that are trending within your area. Remember, the difference between top producers and mediocre producers is top producers take action. Take action on that today.